Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our briefing. We have a lot to share with you, and I'll be joined by our Provost and Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Karen Olmsted, to talk to you about commencement. My Chief of Staff, Eli Maudlin, is also here, and he'll take your questions. I want to start with an update on our COVID protocols. Since the start of the semester, we've seen a precipitous decline in just about all of the metrics that we use to track the spread of the virus. That's true both in our community and on our campus. I'm certain that we would not have been nearly as successful fighting the virus if you, the members of our community, had not demonstrated such a strong commitment to doing what was necessary to keep yourselves and each other very safe. And because of that commitment, I am pleased to announce that the University Health Team recommended another step down in our masking guidance. Effective tomorrow, Friday, March 4th, at 3 p.m., masks will only be required in classrooms and laboratories during instruction, on university transportation, when visiting for healthcare appointments with student health services or in the Great Hall in the testing center. Some events will also require mask wearing, and attendees will be informed ahead of time or provided with masks upon arrival. Masks certainly remain encouraged, and students and employees are encouraged to pick up KN95s from the info desk at the Guerreri Student Union. I implore everyone to be respectful of those who choose to wear their masks. This is a major step forward, and I appreciate the thoughtful and measured approach that our health team has taken with this and previous recommendations. We will continue to monitor the situation and adjust safety protocols as appropriate. Last week, the SUPD and Office of Information Technology released guidance on what you can do to secure your virtual meetings and events. A link to this guidance will be sent out again today, and I would encourage you to familiarize yourself with the steps that you can take to protect virtual gatherings. This guidance was sent as a result of a group of individuals who we now believe are not connected to the university, who interrupted a Zoom event with racist and explicit language. We condemn this kind of behavior, and we are proud of the many students and employees who spoke up and spoke out against it. Oftentimes, these actions come as an attempt to slow progress toward becoming a more inclusive campus, but we are not going to let that happen. I want to share some of the progress we're making and additional steps that we're taking to cultivate a greater sense of belonging for everyone in our community. I'm happy to report that we're adding minors in Africana Studies and Disability Studies. This is in addition to diversity, equity, and inclusion being integrated into the new general education model. All new students will be required to complete a diversity training. This is already required of faculty and staff. I am mandating additional leadership level equity and inclusion training for all staff at or above the assistant director level. And there will be new inclusion advocate training for all students and employees who wish to serve on search committees. These actions are aligned with what we heard from our faculty, staff, and students in the campus climate study and will go a long way in laying the foundation toward a more inclusive campus. Please be sure to nominate those who you feel have made campus a more inclusive environment for this year's Diversity and Inclusion Champion Awards. We're going to be talking about these efforts and other pressing topics on Monday at 5:30 p.m. during a shared governance town hall. I also want to note that SU Athletics is wrapping up the winter sports season. Good luck to the SU women's basketball team as they begin the NCAA tournament tomorrow in Gettysburg. The swim teams have had impressive showings at their conference championships with several program records broken. Also, we hope to get a couple of track and field athletes to compete at the national championship meet next week. The spring sports season is underway with 4 of our teams ranked in the top 10 nationally. Now I'm going to turn it over to our Provost and Senior Vice President of Academic Affairs, Dr. Karen Olmsted, for an update on plans for commencement.
Thank you, Dr. Wight. Well, we are really looking forward to our commencement and graduation celebrations for our Spring 22 graduates, which will happen May 20th through 22nd. And last May, we held Grad Walks in which families or students received their diplomas. Actually, it's your diploma cover. Your actual diploma comes in June. And family and friends had plenty of time for photos and celebration of graduates as they processed across the stage in their caps and gowns or their academic regalia. Last December, we were able to include faculty in the Grad Walk. So graduates and their families had the chance to meet with departmental faculty, other students in their major, other graduates, and university leaders. And President Wight, I know that you were in a lot of family photos from all of those days. There was also a chance for graduate students to introduce their graduate advisors to their families, which I know was so meaningful to many of those. Celebration zones are set up around campus for additional celebrations and photos, and I know last December we even had a marriage proposal on the steps of Holloway Hall, which was kind of an added bonus. For spring, we're continuing to carefully evaluate our plans in the context of public health, which is much more positive, as Dr. Wight was talking about. And we also are evaluating it in the context of how well received our Grad Walks have been. So we had planned to go forward with our Grad Walks in May, but we heard from some families that they would prefer a more traditional ceremony. So we decided to query our graduates for May 2022 to see what their collective preference would be. So currently we have a survey out to graduating students, which closes this Friday at 4 p.m. If you haven't voted, go ahead and do that now. Right now it's trending toward the Grad Walk, but we will announce kind of what the results are next week, and our decisions will be announced on the commencement webpage. Regardless of what form our celebrations take place in May, we look forward to seeing all of our graduates and their families at the Wicomico Civic Center here in Salisbury on the third weekend in May. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Olmsted. So the questions that have come in, the first is about the mask update, and the question is, why the classrooms? Why are masks still required in the classrooms? As the president mentioned, the health team has decided to take a measured approach to the relaxation of the mask guidance, and areas outside of the classroom was that next step down. Certainly a part of the discussion was the densely populated nature of classrooms and the fact that students and faculty are required to be in the classroom as opposed to some of the other areas on campus. Here's a question about transportation. So when you're taking the university shuttle to some of the housing locations off campus, when you're using that short transit bus, that is where masks remain required using university transportation. This question is about the vaccine mandate. Will there be a requirement for the vaccine mandate or the booster next semester? The vaccine mandate from the University System of Maryland was in place for this academic year, and we will certainly communicate with campus when we know if that mandate will be in place for the fall. Are masks required in common areas and hallways? So, as the president mentioned, they are required in classrooms and labs during instruction. They're required on university transportation, and they're required when you're going for an appointment in the student health center or in the Great Hall for a campus health vaccine or test, something like that in the Great Hall. So that is where masks continue to be required. That concludes the questions. I'm going to turn it back over to President Wight.
Thank you, Eli. I want to end today's briefing with a message of solidarity with the people of Ukraine. Over and over, the world has proved to be a dangerous place, and there are evil people who wish us harm. Like many of you, I have been amazed and moved by the incredible bravery of the Ukrainian soldiers and Ukrainian citizens fighting for their country. The people of Ukraine have proven stronger and more resilient than any of us could have imagined, and they remain in our hearts and our minds today. Please be kind to one another, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks.